Hello everyone and welcome to my presentation, Factors Affecting a Learner's Intrinsic Motivation. My name is Herbert and I'm a member of Kansas University of International Studies. Please note that I did this study at the British Council, which was my former employment. Okay, the goals for this presentation will be looking at the factors that can encourage L2 intrinsic motivation, but also the hindrances of L2 intrinsic motivation. The focus will be on junior high school learners, and it will be a focus of the teacher's perceptions of the factors that affect a learner's intrinsic motivation. Okay, so we're just going to start off with a very broad definition on L2 motivation. It's all about the attitude, desires, and willingness to expend effort in order to learn the second language. Okay, so it's a combination of those. My study is actually a focus on intrinsic motivation. So here is a definition from Deci, cited in Brown. So it's behaviours aimed at bringing about certain internally rewarding consequences, namely feelings of competence and self-determination. Extrinsic and intrinsic now. Here we go. So learners engage in tasks to avoid punishment. Okay. And learners do an activity knowing that a prize will be given at the end, mainly for young learners, this of course. It's more kind of the physicality of it, whereas intrinsic is a internal motive. So making a classroom supportive, positive, engaging, it's always going to, very likely to stimulate learners. Also the materials and activities, making them engaging and interesting will also help. And if they are also relevant, then that will also help their intrinsic motivation. Here is a intrinsic motivation model from Valorand et al. And it proposed a three-part taxonomy of IM, intrinsic motivation. The first part was IM knowledge. So this is the motivation of doing an activity for the feelings associated with exploring new ideas and developing knowledge. The second part is accomplishment. So this refers to sensations related to attempt to master a task or achieve a goal. And stimulation is the final part. So this relates to motivation based simply on sensations stimulated by performing the task, such as aesthetic appreciation of fun and excitement. Okay, so how can we make our learners more intrinsically motivated in the L2 classroom? So here, I would like to share my strategy when I was a junior high school teacher for the British Council. Yes, so for mainly every lesson, for every grade, I would be, I would bring a positive energy. I'm very kind of Genki myself, and I try every lesson to bring that positiveness to the class. It really does help for me personally and the students. Fun techniques to maintain classroom management. This was generally effective for the first graders and usually the second graders as well. I did have a fun technique to maintain control when finishing an activity. I would do the clap technique, something like this. Then I'll get students to respond with 2 claps. Of course, that has to be pre-taught. Praise is another one that I generally do, but not to overpraise. So praise is always good when students do some good work. This can increase their self-motivation. And also positivity outside of class. So not just inside, you'll see them in the halls before and after class, perhaps, on break times and lunchtime maybe, outside of the buildings. So it's, for me, always, I find always good when you have when you're looking positive and not kind of down in the dumps or defeated, because, well, students do have friends, they will talk. God, did you see that Derek this morning? Oh, he looks so down. No, so it's generally very good to look positive and try to look positive outside of class as well. This is online, but not a physical conference room. But please do share your ideas to this question. So how can we make our learners more intrinsically motivated in the L2 classroom? Okay, so what do you do? Do share your ideas. This is a well-known model from Dornier, a 4-part process, the components of motivational teaching practice in the L2 classroom. Some of these factors I have incorporated into my quantitative data, which I will talk about a bit later. The first part is creating the basic motivational conditions. For example, a pleasant and supportive atmosphere in the classroom will help. Generating that initial motivation. So, for example, making materials relevant for the learners, maintaining, protecting motivation. So allowing learners to maintain a positive social image. Don't always pick on that one student. Yeah, so make sure you vary the students if you want them to respond. Encouraging positive retrospective self-evaluation. So, for example, offering rewards and grades in a motivating manner, but this is more kind of extrinsic. This model is not obviously focused on intrinsic motivation mainly, so just to note. And Dornier listed some hindrances here. So the teacher could be a hindrance. For example, personality. They maybe don't get on with the students, perhaps. Teaching method, perhaps. Negative attitude towards the L2. Course books. Okay, so again, in the chat function, so what do you think are the factors that can hinder learners' L2 intrinsic motivation? So we saw some of Dornier's list. Do you have any other hindrances that you can think of? Okay, so to the study, there was 9 current junior high school teachers, 9 former junior high school teachers. So all 18 of these teachers did or still are working for the British Council. The main topic is to investigate what factors encourage but also hinder L2 intrinsic motivation of junior high school learners. Okay, so the British Council teachers, British Council do have junior high school clients, so the teachers go to the client's workplace and teach the English there. So this is a teacher perception of the factors that encourage and also hinder L2 intrinsic motivation. Quantitative and qualitative data was included in this study. So the quantitative research, this included questionnaires and 18 teachers responded. So now I'm just going to show you the most important questions that will answer the goals of this presentation. The other questions in the questionnaire, these were kind of qualification questions. Like how long have they been a junior high school teacher? For example, and what their knowledge is of intrinsic motivation and how they develop their intrinsic motivation with their learners. As you can see, the data on the left is new. This is current teachers. The data on the right, past. This is former teachers. As you can see, first graders of junior high school are the, teachers perceive as the most intrinsically motivated. In my opinion, this is a no-brainer. I think naturally, first graders, when they're in junior high school, it's new to them, very new, new textbooks, new teachers, new environment, new friends. So it's naturally, I think, very intrinsic, motivating. It's very motivating for them intrinsically. Okay. The second graders came at bottom, and most teachers perceive them as the least intrinsically motivated from both data sets. So question 15, how do you develop intrinsic motivation of your junior high school learners? So these factors listed here, I got from Dornier's model. And as you can see, making learning stimulating and enjoyable and increasing learners' self-confidence came out on top for both data sets, so past and current teachers. Okay, I gave a choice of 3 here for students, for teachers. So which of the following methods encourage learners to intrinsic motivation further? There was 3 choices, and most teachers went for giving positive feedback and also encouraging foreign exchange programs. In my opinion, yes, foreign exchange programs would definitely encourage the intrinsic motivation. For example, in my experience, 3rd graders, they went to Canada on a foreign exchange program. When they came back, they couldn't leave me alone. They wanted to know what's the best grammar in this situation, what's this sentence like, and they just wanted to talk to me before and after the lesson at every opportunity. They seemed far more interested in learning English. Question 18, again, I gave 3 choices for these external factors. So which of the following external factors do you feel have a positive impact upon learners' intrinsic motivation? All teachers most teachers ticked all 3, but mainly school and society had an impact. For other, teachers said culture maybe and peers. In the qualitative data that I will show you shortly from the interviews, teachers did also say for other, personality of teenagers, social media, sports clubs, friends, and the Japanese education system to set more realistic principles for junior high school learners' achievement levels. So those were kind of other external factors that were mentioned. And this is this was the final question of the questionnaire. So which one of the following factors do you believe is a hindrance of the development of intrinsic motivation of your learners? And this question gave very interesting readings, I thought. So past teachers went for teaching method, and current teachers went for self-confidence, which is obviously an internal motive for the learners. Okay, so onto the qualitative research now. I did 4 interviews. All teachers were from the British Council. So 2 former junior high school teachers and 2 teachers who were still on the junior high school program. So here's what I found from the interviews. So for encouraging intrinsic motivation further, former teachers, they did say teacher training could be a good factor, and obviously personalization. So making sure the lessons and activities are relevant for the learners and also interesting and up to date. So again, this could stimulate their intrinsic motivation. And also, I thought positive teacher feedback was a very interesting answer. Again, of course, this could build confidence in the learners. And current teachers, so they said teacher training also. But also reflection, okay, so promoting regular reflection in your classes, and this could enhance intrinsic motivation. Okay, and also learner autonomy came up as well. So using your teaching strategies, including learner autonomy, is very beneficial to increasing learner self-confidence. And the hindrances. So former teachers, they said class size was a big hindrance. So there could be not a lot of opportunity for speaking for students if there's classes of 30 to 40. So teachers have to make sure that they've laid out their classroom efficiently and plan the lesson in a way that they can give as much opportunity for speaking as possible. Teaching method could also be a hindrance. At the British Council Junior High School Lessons, presentation practice production, PPP approach, is heavily advertised, but some teachers are free to teach accordingly another method if they choose. And negative attitude towards English, so just useful for passing tests, was another hindrance mentioned. Current teachers went for class size, also tiredness of learners. Of course, learners have a big workload perhaps, or they go to bed very late or have to get up very early in the morning. And low self-confidence of learners, so that's another hindrance. And again, being exam focused. So Japanese junior high schools traditionally are quite exam focused. So this could be a hindrance also. Okay, so limitations to this study. Yes, so in my questionnaire, I put just a minimum of choices, maybe for the external factors question in the questionnaire, I only gave 3 choices. So maybe given more choices for teachers, there could have been more, of course, more variety to the answers. And the data sets, so there's only 18 teachers in total. So it would have been nice to have a few more teachers in each data set for maybe a more kind of accurate reading of the results. The qualitative data, the interviews were quite short and there was only 4 interviews. So it would have been nice to interview a few more teachers to get more variety in the answers. The research, yes, was outdated. I finished my MA a couple of years ago, and the dissertation was this study. So it is a little outdated. But I would like to do the same study right now. I think it's a very interesting time, the COVID-19 era. So I would like to do the same study, but with the online platforms. So I'm sure there'll be different motivational factors for this. Yes, now I work for a university. So it's may be beneficial to do the same study with university learners, but also the perceptions of university teachers this time. The learner's perspective. So back when I was a junior high school teacher, I did this study. It was on the teacher's perspective, so it would be quite interested to marry up both perspectives, the learners and the teachers. Also, other junior high schools with JET ALT teacher perceptions would be quite beneficial. So thank you, everyone, for looking at my presentation. I have a quick final question for you. If you want to drop your ideas in the chat function, you can. So what teaching techniques and activities do you use to try and develop L2 motivation of your learners? Okay, so I look forward to all your ideas. Thank you very much indeed. The references are here, and if you do want a copy of my presentation, please do contact me, or other questions, ideas or queries that you have, please do contact me. So thank you very much for joining this presentation. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay, so if everyone could unmute themselves, let's give our speaker a big round of applause. So thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.